On a cold, rainy morning in Portland, the kind that makes the streets shine like wet glass, Alexandra Hayes maneuvered her wheelchair through the crowded Morning Cloud Cafe. 7 months pregnant, she wove carefully between a maze of tables and chairs, her hands gripping the wheels with quiet determination. People glanced at her, then looked away. No one moved. Her wheel caught on a chair leg, jolting her slightly forward. Tears pricked her eyes, mixing with the steam rising from the countless coffee cups that surrounded her. She bent her head, swallowed by the hum of chatter, the hiss of the espresso machine, the soft patter of rain on the cafe's awning. And then a calm, strong voice cut through the noise. "Excuse me, let me help." A tall man gently pulled a chair aside, clearing a path. A small girl beside him smiled at Alexandra, as though it were the most natural thing in the world to offer kindness. The entire cafe seemed to pause. The morning light filtered through the windows, casting golden patterns across the wooden floor. Morning Cloud Cafe, usually a place of hurried footsteps and urgent phone calls, had become the stage for an unexpected collision of two very different lives. Alexandra Hayes, 29, had long blonde hair and a face that could have been beautiful if not for the exhaustion etched into every line. She had once been an interior designer at Whitestone Design, a prestigious firm with office windows overlooking the river. She had clients who trusted her vision, a future gleaming as brightly as the chrome fixtures she loved to specify in her designs. Then came the accident. A drunk driver, a guardrail, and the sound of metal crushing metal. Alexandra woke up in the hospital, unable to feel her legs. The doctor spoke in careful tones about spinal cord injuries, using words like permanent and adaptive. But the hardest word came from Leon Walker, her boyfriend, who walked out her hospital room when he learned she was pregnant. He had been driving. He walked away with scratches. She lost her legs, her career, and the man she thought loved her. Her father, Henry Hayes, had visited once. He stood at the foot of her hospital bed, his face carved from stone, and said, "You have shamed this family." He refused to acknowledge the grandchild she carried, cutting off all support. Alexandra moved from a bright apartment to a small, cold one-bedroom where the heat barely worked and the elevator was always broken. She learned to survive. She taught herself to cook, to fix her wheelchair with makeshift tools, and to navigate a world not built for her body. That morning, the folder on her lap contained her 37th rejection letter. Carter Flynn, 34, watched her from across the cafe. Sun-weathered skin, dark brown hair, broad shoulders, a man hardened by life yet softened by loss. Once an aerospace engineer, he had walked away from his high-paying career to raise his 7-year-old daughter, Audrey, after his wife Sarah died from cancer. The world had taught him that survival was about presence, about showing up, about quiet acts of devotion rather than career triumphs. Carter had brought Audrey to her art class downtown and stopped at the cafe for hot chocolate. He had 3 repair calls scheduled for the afternoon, but saw Alexandra struggling. Without hesitation, he moved. He pulled chairs aside, creating a clear path to an empty table by the window. "There you go." Alexandra looked up, speechless for a moment. People either stared at her with pity or avoided her entirely. But this man, this stranger, looked at her with something else. Simple kindness, no judgment. "Thank you," she whispered. "I know you can manage," he said, smiling genuinely. "But everyone needs a place to sit." Audrey stepped forward, holding out a napkin. "You dropped this, miss." Alexandra accepted it, touched by the girl's sweetness. She noticed the bright purple backpack, paint stains on fingers, the tiny, deliberate gestures of a child who saw beauty in small things. They sat together, an unlikely trio, in a crowded cafe. Alexandra spoke of waiting for a job interview. Carter told her of his days as an engineer and why he chose to quit. They talked of design, engineering, loss, and small victories. Audrey showed her sketchbook full of birds, flowers, and a house with hearts in its windows. "Why hearts?" Alexandra asked, smiling. "That's where love lives," Audrey said matter-of-factly, as though it was the most obvious thing in the world. Carter watched Alexandra. He recognized the look in her eyes, the same look he'd seen in his own mirror after Sarah died, the look of someone who had survived something terrible wondering if survival was enough. He wrote his phone number on a napkin, sliding it across the table. "If you ever need anything fixed," he said. Alexandra stared. She had spent 2 years refusing help, refusing to be a burden. But sitting there, 7 months pregnant, she realized survival wasn't the same as living. 2 hours later, she faced another challenge: Cascade Property Management. The office was sleek, glass walls, minimalist furniture. The manager spent 4 minutes glancing at her resume before saying, "We need someone more mobile in this position." Alexandra tried to assert her experience. He interrupted. "We need to move in a different direction." She left, rain soaking her, humiliation and exhaustion settling in like a physical weight. At home, she tried to navigate her tiny apartment. Her wheelchair caught, sending her to the floor. Pain shot through her wrists. She crawled to her phone, clutching the napkin with Carter's number. She dialed. "I don't know if I should call, but I need help." "I'll be right there," Carter said, without hesitation. 40 minutes later, he arrived. Water dripped from his jacket, tool bag in hand. He helped her into the wheelchair, fixed the faucet, lowered cabinets, widened pathways, installed grab bars. He worked quietly, steadily, with respect and care. Audrey arrived after art class with new drawing, Alexandra in her wheelchair with angel wings. "You can fly," the child said. Alexandra looked at Carter, at Audrey, and felt hope for the first time in 2 years. Weeks passed. Carter came often, sometimes to repair, sometimes just to check in. Alexandra began to sleep better, smile more, imagine a life rebuilt from ruins. Then Leon returned. Dressed in an expensive suit, he arrived with a lawyer, Clinton Rodas, proposing to take custody of the child. Alexandra felt the ice of fear and fury in her veins. Carter, who had become her steadfast protector, stepped forward, his presence a wall against a man who had destroyed her life. Leon Walker's proposal was audacious. Sign over custody for $50,000 with visitation rights. "Think about what's best for the baby," he said smoothly, as though raising a child were a mere transaction. Alexandra's anger boiled, tears streaming. "Get out," she whispered. Carter knelt beside her, his hand on hers. "We'll fight this," he said. "We'll find a real lawyer." That night, he could not sleep. He remembered Sarah Flynn's death, a hit-and-run accident years prior. Searching records, he discovered a pattern. Leon Walker's car, the timing, the repairs, evidence pointing to him as the driver who had killed Sarah and left Alexandra paralyzed months later. The next morning, Carter shared the truth with Alexandra. Her face went white. "He killed your wife," she whispered. "Yes," Carter said. "And now he's tried to take your child." They resolved to seek justice. Carter found Justice for Victims, a legal aid organization run by young lawyer Bridget Cole. She took their case immediately, gathering evidence, contacting the district attorney, and preparing to challenge Leon's custody claim. Leon and Clinton fought back with PR attacks and legal maneuvers, but they underestimated Alexandra and Carter, bound by grief, determination, and the refusal to be silenced. Court arrived on a gray autumn morning. Alexandra, in her wheelchair, sat at the plaintiff's table, professional and determined. Carter was behind her, hand on her shoulder. Leon entered confidently, Clinton at his side, expecting an easy victory. Bridget's preparation shattered those expectations. She presented a meticulous timeline, traffic camera footage, police reports, and repair records. "Mr. Walker is not seeking to be a father," she said. "He seeks control. He seeks to silence the woman who can testify about his drunk driving. He seeks to escape justice." Gasps filled the courtroom. Carter could not contain his pain. "You took my wife and left us with grief," he cried. Leon's mask cracked. Desperate, he tried to claim circumstantial evidence, but the court had proof. The original bumper with traces of Sarah's car, DNA evidence, the blood alcohol report from Alexandra's accident, and bank records showing theft. Within minutes, he was arrested for drunk driving, vehicular manslaughter, and hit and run. The final surprise came when Henry Hayes, Alexandra's father, entered the courtroom. Tears ran down his face. "I was wrong," he admitted. Alexandra forgave him, understanding that forgiveness is about releasing poison. not forgetting. The judge denied Leon's petition for custody, restoring Alexander's rights. Outside, the press gathered. Alexander gave a brief statement about justice, strength, and protection for her child. The financial settlement and restitution brought stability. Alexander used part of the settlement to open an accessible interior design studio. Carter became her technical partner. Together, they created functional, beautiful spaces for people with disabilities. Over time, love blossomed, not fiery, but steady, enduring, born a shared struggle. Audrey adored Alexandra. One evening, Carter reached across the drafting table. "I love you, Alexandra," he said. She laughed through tears at his heartfelt confession. "That's a yes," she replied. 2 months later, Alexander gave birth to a baby boy, Finn. Carter and Audrey were present, Henry Hayes nearby. Finally part of the family he had abandoned. 6 months after Finn's birth, the family returned to Morning Cloud Cafe. Pink flowers adorned Alexander's wheelchair. Audrey carried her crayons. Finn slept on Carter's chest. They settled by the same window. Alexander smiled, thinking back to that rainy day when a stranger had pulled out a chair for her, unknowingly changing her life. "Visibility is overrated," she said softly. "What matters is being seen by the right people." Carter kissed her forehead. "I pulled out a chair for a stranger once. Now she's my home." Audrey smiled. "Can I be in your home too?" "You already are, sweetheart," Alexander said. And so, in a corner of the bustling cafe, with rain beginning to fall again, they sat together. A family built from kindness, courage, and second chances. A life rebuilt from the rubble, a love forged through survival, and a reminder that sometimes the smallest gestures, pulling out a chair, offering a hand, can change everything.